Hi, goalies, goalie parents, and goalie coaches. Welcome to the Goalie Podcast. We're really excited to have a special guest today. But first, we got to introduce John. John Corrado is the right hand man on these podcasts. He's a former goalie coach at Merrimack College, as well as Boston College and Northeastern University. My name is Brian DeCord. If we haven't met yet, I am the goaltending director of scouting and development for the Detroit Red Wings. I'm a former goaltending coach for the Boston Bruins and goaltending scout for the Toronto Maple Leafs, goaltending director for the now defunct Arizona Coyotes. I'd love to get into that a little bit with Jesse. But Jesse, welcome to the podcast. We're really excited to have you. Our first big name here from the Athletic. That carries a lot of weight.
Thank you so much for having me. The Athletic, that was my dream job I remember before I worked for the Athletic, it was like there's no publication that treats hockey like it's the number one sport more than the Athletic. I always wanted to write for them. So yeah, I've been there for 8 years now. And it's a dream.
That's awesome. We're big fans of Fluto. So Fluto's son is a goalie, actually
Yep.
trains with us as well. So we have a lot of interaction. I go back to my Bruins days with Fluto. He's been around forever. Now, tell us a little bit, if you can, about your goalie background, because that's what I think makes you and Kevin Woodley kind of makes you really unique when you write your articles.
Yeah, so I've played goalie my whole life. Since I never wanted to play anything but goalie. To the days when I was playing just street hockey in my driveway when I was 5 years old. I grew up in Colorado Springs, right south of Denver. So Patrick Waugh was my idol growing up, and played hockey all the way to about high school. That was as high as I ever went. I never played at a real high level. I played mostly house league with my friends. When I was young, never really played on any of the travel teams or anything like that. Just didn't have those opportunities financially and stuff like that. But now I still play as an adult. I play 3 nights a week, beer league, goalie, all 3 nights. I absolutely love it. It's better than going to the gym. It's a good workout. And like you said, I think it gives me a different perspective. I understand what it's like to be screened. Some writers will see a goalie not move on a shot and they're like, what is he doing? And it's like, I know exactly what he's doing because that happens to me 3 times a night. I didn't see the release and I have no idea what to do. So I do think that even playing at a low level can give you an understanding of what these guys are going through that someone who hasn't been on the ice and been through that goes through. And then just in terms of professionally, like I started off just covering hockey. I mean, I was initially out of college, I was covering just high school football and stuff. And then I'm here in Vegas. I went to UNLV, went to college here in Vegas, and then we get a hockey team. I was able to cover that hockey team from its inception before they even had a team name. I covered it for the Las Vegas Sun, a local paper out here. I then went to the Athletic, where I covered basically just the Golden Knights for a few years. They learned my passion for goaltending, the Athletic, and they let me start writing a goalie story here and there. And they performed really well. The readers absolutely loved them. And it's transitioned into now that's basically my job is I cover goalies around the NHL, all 64 of them. It usually ends up being more than that. But I will still write about the Golden Knights here and there, but it's mostly just I've got an eye on all the goalies in the NHL, trying to write the most interesting stories I can about what those guys do and try to shine a little light on some of the details that the average hockey fan doesn't notice that a goalie's doing during a game, and teach a little bit and mostly just entertain. But it's a dream job. I get to write about goalies every day. It's a lot of fun. You're on mute.
I was trying to cut the sound out over here in this airport. So, okay, I'm going to start this off with the dilemma that we have, the chicken and the egg dilemma here. With the goalies and the stats are going down, okay? So I think it was yesterday, it was already down to an 896 save percentage. And then 892 team save percentage because of the empty net goals. But 896, so we're below 900. So there's a lot of discussion. Is it the goalies that aren't as good? Is it the players that are better? Is gambling and the fact that being able to control and define what a shot on net is, like, where do you see this all going down from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a combination of all those things. I just did a recent story where we talked to people at the NHL and the way they're tracking shots on goal. I actually talked to Joey for that story, and it's super interesting because they have changed the way they're counting shots on goal over the past couple seasons, and it's the puck tracking data is why they're able to do this. So the fact that they've got a microchip in the puck and they know the exact flight of the puck, they're able to extract. If a goalie makes a save 4 feet in front of the goalpost, they're able to take that data and extract, okay, where was that puck going to end up if the goalie hadn't gloved it, which is something that prior to a couple years ago they never could have done, even if they wanted to. You mentioned the gambling. The gambling, I think, is probably why it's important to do that, because you've got people betting money on how many shots on goal a particular player will have each night. You can bet Jack Eichel will have more than 3.5 shots tonight, and there's money being exchanged between gambling sites and the bettors. So you've got to be accurate. You can't just have the guys up in the booth above me in the press box, which is what it's been, just saying, yeah, that was a shot on goal. That wasn't a shot on goal. They've made it a more scientific process to understand exactly what shots are. So,
but I don't know what a shot is. I don't know what a shot is. Like I'm in the business. This is what I do. Okay, if a shot's an inch off the net and that puck is not going in, and the goalie makes a glove save where it could hit his glove and go in, is that a shot on net? If it is geometrically not going to go in the net.
I think that's a discussion that they've never had because they've never had this problem, and maybe they do need to have it now that we're using this. Like I mentioned, I talked to Joey and he said, he's like, well, if a guy shoots it from behind the goal line, it's not a shot on. You can't, like, if you talk about the geometrics of it, you cannot have a shot on goal from below the goal line. And yet, if it goes off the back of my head and into the net, well, now it is a shot on goal. So you're telling me the goalie can create a shot on goal by touching it, but yet when I glove one, now you're going to say I can't create a shot on goal. It's not a shot on goal. So it is. There is a great.
If it goes in,
right.
It's a shot on goal.
So it's only a negative, right? And it's what's funny is those shots, those goalies. Like I was talking to Akira Schmid here in Vegas, and he's like, well, yeah, I used to get 3 or 4 saves a night where I knew the puck was going wide, but I'd catch it anyway. Boost your save percentage a little, right? And every goalie's doing that all year, and it adds up. Like, especially when you're talking about the margins in goaltending, like what classifies as a terrible season and what classifies as like an all-time great season. The margins are so slim. So when you can help yourself every night with a couple saves that you probably didn't have to make, but you know you're going to count them on the stat sheet, those disappear, and what do you know? The save percentage plummets. It's very interesting. I also think, aside from just the way they're counting them, just the strategy has changed, right? Like teams are holding pucks. They're not like, I remember I was talking to Andrei Vasilevsky about this, and he said, you don't get the gimme saves. Like they used to just throw stuff at you and you get to feel the puck, you get to be in rhythm, and it helps your save percentage. They're not giving you those anymore because they're holding them for a high. The skill is so high. They know, if I hold on to this puck for an extra couple seconds, we're going to end up getting a shot in the house from the low slot instead of just firing it on the net. So the shots on goal are down, but they're more dangerous. I would argue the goalies are better than they've ever been, and yet their stats don't tell you that.
When you talk about holding on to the puck for that extra second, I remember as a kid watching the Russians, and there were areas of the ice where like take the shot, and all of a sudden they skate 2 feet more, throw a cross-ice pass, and the guy's tapping into an empty net. I remember as a kid going, I've never seen this. And then you watch it now. I'm watching the same thing going, you got a shooting lane. And the guy's making a pass I would never think of 2 years ago that they'd make. And this guy's just tapping it back to our empty net. And like I said, the strategy, the skill level, and what they're pulling off and what they're doing, it's on another level.
So I'm gonna ask you another question on this one, okay? Just before I go, because this opens up another Pandora's box. But tell me if a shot on net from over center ice is a shot on net or not.
It is right now. They classify it. So
if they're at the far goal line and they put it on net, that's a shot on net, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There's so much disparity about that because I'm always watching the shot clock. And I'm always watching to see if it's recorded or not. And I'm like, yeah, like, okay, so the guy chips it by the defenseman. and he's trying to beat the defenseman, and it rolls all the way to the goalie. And if the goalie wasn't there, that would go in. It's not up to the guy doing the shots to quantify to qualify how good the shot is. Am I correct?
Yeah. I can't say that they're accurately keeping them that way, but I can say that by definition, that should be a shot on goal. If like you said, you said it perfectly. If there wasn't a goalie there, would it have been a goal? And that's why like some people get confused by like a post, like when they hit the post, why is that not a shot on goal? It's like the definition is if the goalie wasn't there, would it have been a goal? And if the answer is yes, it should be a shot on goal.
All right. So now we all know from what we write about all the time, what we talk about all the time is goals against and save percentage and wins. We all know that wins, save percentage, and goals against are not a great reflection of the goalie. They're a great reflection of the team. When are we going to get to goals saved above expected or actual versus expected? When are we going to get to where those are mainstream? Because you got goalie A and goalie B. Goalie A stops 20 shots. Goalie B stops 40 shots. They both let in 2. They have the same goals against. If a goalie gets 20 breakaways and the other goalie gets 20 dump-ins, they have the same save percentage. If a goalie makes 4 saves but gives up 4 goals but his team scores 5, he wins.
Right.
But how can we get goals saved above expected, which I think is a little bit of a cumulative stat, or like more importantly, actual versus expected? How can we get that to mainstream?
Well, I'm doing my best. If you read any story I write about goalies, I lean heavily on the goal saved above expected, and I also like to use the NHL Edge stats where they break them into shot zones, like within 20 feet of the net. Then there's the mid range, and then there's the long range. I like to use those kind of stats. A goalie who's got the best high danger save percentage in the league is doing a lot more for his team than a goalie who's just saving him from the point. I think as a sports world, we are becoming in all sports. I think fans are becoming more accepting of advanced stats as we go. I think hockey maybe is a little bit behind in terms of like baseball or basketball. I think those sports, they've accepted them a little quicker. I think we're still trying to get there, but I also, and like, I could probably ask you guys questions for an hour on this subject. I think there's a better goalie stat out there that we just haven't come up with yet. I think, and I talk to goalies about this all day, and someday I'm going to come up with my own stat. That'll be before I die. I will have a goalie stat, and I think we've got the puck tracking and the player tracking technology. We've got to use it too, because Brian, you know this. Those goal saved above expected models, they rely heavily on shot location. And as the goalies have gotten better and better at stopping straight shots, the shot location isn't as important as the goalie's vision. Like, would you rather face a shot right in front of you that you see, or would you rather face a shot from 30 feet away where there's 6 bodies in front of you? Every goalie would tell you, give me the one I can see. And yet that goal saved above expected model, that is not telling you that at all. So now that we've got, like, I would love to somehow find a way to quantify traffic. How many bodies are between the release and the goalie when the shot is taken? I'd love to find a way to quantify positioning. What goalies are set and at a good depth when shots happen? Like, and I'm not smart enough to write an algorithm to do that, but I think now that we've got these data points of where goalies are, where the puck is, where the bodies around them are, I do think that there is a better goalie stat out there. We've just got to find a way to come up with it.
One more thing that goes into that too. So let's take Joey's team, Seattle Kraken. There's a big difference between Jared McCann shooting a puck and then Ty Cartier shooting a puck, right?
Yep.
Ty can shoot it pretty good though. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, there are levels.
The stats, this Austin Matthews ripping a shot is not the same as your mere human being, right? Mortal, right? These guys are so. It would have to be something in real time, meaning Austin Matthews scores a goal. This is what he is at that time, not what he was last year, but at that time. So constant, the algorithm constantly spitting out, this guy had a shot now, and then how much time they had to release the shot,
Oh, what
Like-
about speed and location at the same time too? If you can track the speed of the puck and the location of the puck, that's going to tell you like how
Yep.
good of a save that really was too. You know, if it's
Don't get
coming
me
off-
started. Don't get me started on location. Don't get me started on net. Okay, because and I'm not going to name anybody or platforms or whatnot. But we see, Jesse, you get your shots, right? You see at the net where the puck went in. Okay. Like, guys, if the goalie is on the ice with two defensemen sitting on top of them and the goal scorer shoots it high glove, that puck goes down as a high glove goal. You guys realize that, right? So, like, we look at these diagrams, these charts of the goalies, they put every shot on net and every goal, they mark where it went in. But like in my app, my SIG Game Day app, like I use it, I call it open net, backdoor tap it. That's an open net, right? So like I think that we have these charts, but I don't think they actively reflect where a goalie gets beat because the people that are inputting the data are putting where the puck went in, despite whether the goalie was behind the net
Yep.
and tripped, and someone put it in an open net. Like it doesn't reflect that.
It'll tell you that the goalie's got a weak glove when he doesn't, right? Like
Right.
it's bringing you to the wrong conclusion. Whereas like if you only counted the shots that beat him clean, a clean shot that he saw right in front of him and he gets beat with the glove. Okay. Well, if he keeps continually doing that, then maybe he does have a weak glove. But like you said, if it's a screen and it just happens to go glove side, well, that has nothing to do with his skill with his glove.
For me, the only time that you count a location in the net is half second of set or drift, and you've got a full sight line. Now you know whether a guy gets beat or not. Not because he's out of the play and someone's putting it in high blocker. So high blocker. Oh, the goalie, it wasn't high blocker. So I think there's so much that we have to do there. I think there's so much we have to do.
And to me, the impact could be huge. Like if we could find a way to quantify, because you always hear goaltending is voodoo, and there's a real impact on the best goalies in the world and their ability to get paid for what they do, because GMs are terrified of giving goalies big contracts because the stats we currently use go up and down. Like look at Sergei Bobrovsky. He's been the best. Like he's won 2 cups. He's carried his team. His stats this year are horrific. And GMs look at that and they say, why would I pay a goalie when I don't know what he's going to do next year? But what if the stats actually were like more reflective of how good the goalie is? And then a good goalie playing behind a bad team could still put up good stats the way a good winger can, right? A winger on a bad team can still show that he's a good winger. He can put up goals. He can put up points. A goalie behind a bad team can't put up good stats, the stats we currently keep. And it almost makes this, like I talk to goalie agents that represent NHL goalies, and it's like, it is tough for those guys to get their goalies paid and for the GMs to make good decisions on what goalie to sign because the stats aren't good enough to accurately predict. And we make it sound like, well, it's because the goalies change so much year to year. That's what they like. Well, the goalie could be great this year and bad next year. I don't buy that. I don't buy that Sergei Bobrovsky forgot how to play goalie this year. I don't buy it. The problem is the stats aren't good enough, and the stats aren't telling us who's goaltending well and who's goaltending poorly. And if we could find a way to quantify it better, I think it helps goalies get paid. I think it gives GMs more confidence to give these guys the contracts they deserve when they're up for their deal. But as we've gone over, there are so many variables. It's easier said than done. It's easy for me to say we need a better stat. It's much, much harder to actually execute and find a way to quantify it.
And we're almost at the point where we have the technology. With the data tracking that the NHL now has, I think we're there. And so here's the other thing. So take Sergei Bobrovsky, and you look at, okay, there are two completely different goalies. You've got an in-season goalie and a postseason goalie. Okay, your skill set required to be successful over 50, 60 games is different than your skill set required to win a 4 out of 7. You can statistically not be a great Sergei Bobrovsky. You could statistically not be great during the regular season. But now you get into the 4 out of 7 when guys are willing to stand in front of the net. Guys are going to the net harder. There's more broken plays. There's more chaos. You have to be a big save goalie. I call it an A+. You have to be able to make slot line saves in the playoffs. And so therefore, a goalie that may be the most consistent guy on your routine shots, that doesn't give up bad goals, that gives his team a chance and is awesome, that's going to get your team in the playoffs, that may not be the guy that's going to help you win a round or a Stanley Cup. And I think Bobrovsky is a great example of that. He makes those big saves. He can get cross crease. He can make the A+ saves. You need Sergei Bobrovsky in the playoffs more than you need him during the regular season.
It's a fascinating conversation. Like Connor Hellebuck, it's hard not to think of what he's gone through in terms of, like you said, the most consistent maybe the most consistent goalie ever. He's certainly the most consistent of this generation. And now that we've got like goal saves above expected and stuff like that, I mean, his numbers during the regular season are far and away the best. And then you get to the playoffs and it's just not the same. And I think part of it can be just the battle within, like the mental battle for him, but also maybe it is stylistically tougher for like, he's not the most athletic guy. He relies on play reading. And if the playoffs are more chaotic and you're not able to predict where the puck's going to go and you're going to have to use your athleticism, all of a sudden that changes what he's able to do.
I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. And I never really looked at it that way because I'm always thinking shot grades and types of shots in situations. But if you really want to simplify it, structure versus athleticism. Structure is what you need to help get your team be consistent, help your team get in the playoffs. Athletic is what you need to win the playoffs. If you want to make it very simple to understand, I think that, would you agree that that's fair?
Yeah, I think, and like you said, it's simplifying it. There are obviously way more factors, and every individual case is different. But I think if you're going to boil it down to a black and white thing, I think that's probably a good way of looking at it. And it makes you wonder, like we were on the coaches call, we were talking about American goalies and how structured they are. Like I was saying, if you made a list of the most athletic goalies in the league, the most flexible athletic goalies, it's all Russians, right? It's Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, all these guys. If you were to make a list of the most structurally, positionally sound goalies, it's all the Americans: Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman, Decord, even the young kids, Spencer Knight. Like, they're so perfectly sound and positional. Are those kids being built? Are those guys built to win in the playoffs? It's a great question.
John?
I got to agree with what Jeff said. I mean, like, you can see the different influences from different areas of the world on goaltending. And Brian and I have been saying for years that the edge work of the Russians is just, it's off the charts. So what are they doing at younger ages? Like, are they doing figure skating? Are they doing different edge work on the ice? You look at the Chechnyan goaltenders. Who would have thought that would be a country that's got, 3 guys in the NHL right now? And they're good goalies, and then, like I said, you look at the Americans, and it seems like they're not cookie cutter goaltenders for by any stretch, but like you said, they've got good structure to their game. They're good positionally. You can anticipate a pass watching on a game and go, okay, if he's in this spot, if he gets there, he's going to make the save. And like I said, the U.S. goalies do that. Then you look back, to last season where it looked like the U.S. was going to dominate the Four Nations Cup with their goaltending. Who thought Jordan Binnington was going to make those athletic saves? Again, the grade A+ saves that he made, and then you realize that he has that ability to do it. You saw that in the playoffs that same year against Winnipeg. Some of the saves he was making to take that to 7 games. And unfortunately for him, everybody remembers getting scored on the last second and then losing in overtime, but they don't get to game 7 without the abilities that he had. And that's why he's had some good playoff runs, because as Brian said, you've got to have a certain degree of athleticism, because the plays break down so quickly and things happen so much in the playoffs. And like I said, it's just that's the nature of the game when you go in when you're playing in the playoffs. You got to have that little extra, you got to have that little bit of athleticism to get over the hump.
Hey, so okay, if we want to dive into some goalies and how this may impact, I don't think you have to look much farther than Columbus. Okay, so Elvis gets kicked around a little bit because his numbers and so on and so forth. Is Elvis built for the playoffs?
He might be.
No,
he fits a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. Like and to your point, like if you're a team out there looking for a goalie, Edmonton or name any other team out there looking for a goalie, and it's like, well, we want a star. Well, the teams with stars don't want to trade them, but Elvis is a guy maybe you could acquire for a reasonable price, and maybe he is built for.
Well, it's funny you mentioned a trade like that. I look at the Jari and Skinner trade. I'm like, weren't they basically the same type of goaltender? Like you traded one goaltender for another. I'm not saying stat wise, but the way they play. Like, did you do anything different? You just traded like Model A for Model A, if you will, and it's the same type of goaltender.
So I'm going to go back to Columbus. So can you think of a recent goalie that stood on his head in the playoffs? So think about the COVID. Think about Korpisalo.
Yeah.
He was incredible, right? So if you get a guy that can steal you a game, it's a 4 out of 7 series with huge momentum swings. And so you really got to think about that. You know, maybe some guys that like an Elvis that isn't as, from a perception wise, you know, oh, he's not doing as well, but maybe this guy is just built to win you, in the playoffs, and he can make those saves that Vasilevsky can make, that Bobrovsky can make. He can make those saves. So, are we devaluing him because his regular season hasn't been as strong?
Well, it's funny you use Korpisalo. With the Bruins traditionally have played a structured system. He actually looks better when the Bruins have breakdowns, because he's going back to, like you said, those Columbus days where he's just, I'm going to make a save. I'm going to figure out a way to make a save. Yet during those structured games where he's facing 20, 25 shots, you're like, how'd that one get in? Or the stats, or it doesn't look as good. But when the Bruins break down, he's pretty good in those games.
I think Korpisalo has been awesome this year. His numbers aren't great, but every time I watch him play, I'm impressed. I'm so happy for him to get that. He was the replacement to get into the Olympics. I don't know if he'll actually get in a game, but I was happy to see him get the call there. He's had a great season.
Absolutely, and he's fun to watch too, right? That's the other thing. These guys are fun to watch.
Yeah. The Elvis thing, it's so interesting. I talk to goalie coaches about every year I do my goalie tiers, where I have a bunch of goalie coaches anonymously rank each goalie, and we talk about Elvis, and it always comes down to the inconsistencies. And I've had guys say, it's not that he's inconsistent. Any goalie can be inconsistent. It's tough to be great all the time. It's the way he plays. You almost can't be consistent with that style of goaltending. Like it's that style of goaltending doesn't lead to consistency, which is exactly what you're saying, Brian. That's not built to hold your team in it for the whole regular season and rack up a bunch of goals saved above expected, because Elvis will have games where he stops 3 goals above expected, but then he'll have games where he gives up 5 above expected. I mean, he can have a great month, and then he can erase that entire month's worth of stats that he's accumulated in one bad night because he's all over the place. But like you said, maybe being all over the place and being athletic and being reactionary is what some teams need in the playoffs. It's a very interesting conversation.
Okay, Jess, you just brought it up. Give me your Olympic breakdown. Who's the goalies that we need to watch? Who's going to surprise us based upon the way that the Olympics are done? Like, give us your goalie breakdown.
Well, obviously the U.S. is stacked. The country I'm most excited to watch the goalies, and this is partially biased. I have a big story coming out here right before the Olympics start on the Czech goalies. You mentioned Czech Republic, Czechia, and they've got a great history of goalies. Obviously, Dominik Hasek and Jaromír Jágr, they single-handedly won the gold medal in '98 in Nagano. And I don't know if this group of Czech goalies is quite good enough to single-handedly win a gold, but man, I am beyond impressed with what Lukáš Dostál has done in Anaheim. He is an incredible goalie. He reads the play incredibly well. He holds his edges as well as any goalie in the NHL. I think I wrote a story saying he's the modern stand-up goalie. And the way goalies play nowadays, you'll never have a true stand-up. But to me, he's on his skates as much as he possibly can be. And it helps him react. And I think that that's part of I wrote a lot about how they developed that goaltending system in Czechia, and how they kind of a while back they revamped the way they were going to develop goalies. They went and took things from Sweden. They took the structure
and
from
they
the Swedish
started camps. They started having camps, goalie camps.
Yes.
I think maybe 2011-ish, somewhere around there. Let's start following this model from other countries, and let's start developing our goalies.
Yeah, they took a little bit from Sweden, they took a little bit from Finland, and the main thing that they at least they say that they took for themselves, the Czech model, is staying on your feet as much as possible. And you see that with Dostal every night for Anaheim. He plays behind a team that gives up insane amounts of high danger chances, and he makes a lot of saves.
He reminds me of another California goaltender back in the 90s and Nabokov. You know, he's got that Nabokov look where you're waiting for the legs to spread too wide. You're waiting for him to go down early. It's just patience.
So Jesse, could you on Dostal, 3rd round pick, right? That's a really good pick, 3rd round pick. Now, he may have been higher the year of his draft at the Five Nations in Plymouth. He struggled. He was terrible. He got pulled twice. Like it was hard to watch. For some reason, he lost it, and it made everybody nervous about taking him. Up to that point, he was really good, and then he goes a Five Nations tournament in Plymouth. This wasn't the World U18s, but it was the Five Nations, and he really struggled, and maybe that's why he didn't go a little bit higher. But Jesse, could we say that maybe Dostal is that mix, that combination of structure plus athleticism, where high levels of both categories?
Yes, I think so. And you know what I love about him, and I think it's why he's so athletic within the structure, is his stance is so narrow. He keeps his feet so close together. Like when you watch him, goalies these days, their stances are all so similar. Like you put a silhouette up there, it's going to be hard for you to tell which NHL goalie that is compared to the 90s or whatever. Dostal is one of the few that if you gave me a silhouette of a goalie standing there, I can absolutely tell you it's Lukáš Dostal. And it's because his leg pads are so much more vertical because his stance is so narrow. And I remember watching him when the Ducks were here in Vegas. They were practicing, and I stood behind the net and watched him practice. And it's because he's got that narrow stance, he's so compact. His knees are close. His ankles, his knees, and his hips are all kind of stacked over each other. And he's loaded like a spring, so that he can be in his structure, and he's not like all over the place. He's in his structure, but when he needs to explode laterally or to get out to the top of his crease to get some depth, he's a loaded spring just ready. Whereas the wider your skates get, like you lose a little bit of pop on that explosive push. And to me, that's what makes Dostal so athletic, is the fact that maybe I don't think it's necessarily his physical attributes. I don't think his legs are stronger or anything like that. I just think he puts himself in a better position to explode with that really compact stance. And it's fun to watch. I was talking to him about how he gets his skates contoured differently. His skate blades, the edges on the inside are much higher than the outside edges, and that way when he's vertical, when his legs are close, that outside edge doesn't catch, and he can glide all over the place. But then if he needs to bite that edge, just widens his stance a little bit, and all of a sudden now he can grip the ice. Fascinating goalie. A lot of these guys don't want to tell me their trade secrets. Like a lot of them will kind of dance around it. Dostal will sit there and tell me everything he does. He'll sit there and talk for hours. He's a fascinating goalie to talk to. And along the lines of the Czech goalies, he's not the only one they've got. Karel Vejmelka has been a stud for Utah. They're playing him like he's Hellebuck or Vasilevsky. Like you don't see goalies take that kind of workload. I think he's tied for the league lead in wins right now, despite playing for a team that isn't anywhere near the league lead in wins, just because he plays so much. He's a great goalie. Dan Vladar is having best year of his career up in Philadelphia. So yeah, that's when you mention like Olympics, what are you looking forward to? I hope the Czech goalies can steal a game or two and make some teams nervous. I'm really rooting for Czechia to kind of upset a team or two.
On the Czechia front as well, guys, just so you know, like this upcoming draft, there's some good Czech goalies, but even the free agent signing. So I was part of signing Veggie to was a big part of bringing him to Arizona at the time. But like in Detroit, we've got a kid by the name of Pastava, who is one of the top goalies in the American Hockey League right now. Providence has a goalie, Simon Zajac, who's crushing the American Hockey League right now. The Czechs are doing phenomenal.
It's very cool. It's cool to watch. It's and growing up, Hasek was my favorite goalie. Like I when I first started playing goalie as a street hockey goalie, I didn't have the money for like the gear, so I would just go to like the thrift store to like I was using a baseball glove to catch with, and I just had a player's mask, like the Cooper player's mask, and then I remember turning on the TV and seeing Hasek wearing that same stupid mask that I had to wear. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a goalie in the NHL that's wearing the same mask that I have to wear. He became my favorite goalie instantly. Even though I grew up in Colorado, Waugh should be my favorite goalie. Hasek was immediately my favorite goalie. So for me, just nostalgia's sake, like I just love Dominik Hasek so much, and him winning that gold in '98. So me seeing the resurgence of Czech goalies for myself, it's a little bit of nostalgia. I love it.
John, was that an SK 2000? Was that it?
I think it was, yeah.
Cooper.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
you used to get the pressure cuts. I remember getting the pressure cuts.
Yeah.
I got all these little marks in my forehead from that.
And if you got hit right where it hit right where that little divots, the little screws were, those were even more fun. But yeah, well, eventually, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Hasek have his mask, his helmet made like the modern mask of the same materials, so that wouldn't happen?
Ooh, I didn't know that.
I don't know either. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think Warwick did it out in Detroit when he was there. So he wasn't wearing the old Cooper or Bauer helmets. He was actually wearing a helmet. What looked like a helmet was actually a modern mask materials.
Interesting. Hey, Jesse, before we let you go, we got to talk Vegas goaltending because I find it fascinating. So you're right there. So you've got Carter Hart. You've got Akira Schmidt. You've got Aiden Hill. I'm sure you guys talked about the 2-pad stack in the coach's call. That I would have been sick if he came up with that. But you got Aiden Hill. You got Lindbaum in the American Hockey League.
Yep.
Who's tearing it up. You've got Cam Whitehead in the like. It's an embarrassment of riches right now, right? With what's going on, but lots of decisions and lots of gray area within that.
It's super interesting because, like you said, embarrassment of riches. The pipeline looks great right now, and Whitehead. I've only seen him a few times, but man, I've been impressed with him. He moves real well for how big he is. I really like what Cam Whitehead has done. Lindbaum has he lost a bunch. I think he went 1-6 in his 7 games in the NHL. But when you watch him, he played a lot better than that. He deserved better. He didn't get a lot of goal support in those games, but he moves really well. What's interesting though is that the save percentage, like the numbers for the Vegas goalies have been very bad this year, like the worst they've ever been in 9 years. And that's a high bar. I mean, this is the team with Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner, and they've played great defense for 9 years. So the numbers are usually good. It's interesting that the numbers have been so bad. Aiden Hill has been injured a lot, and that's part of it. Last night he looked phenomenal. He finally looked like himself for the first time all year last night. But I think that the way the Golden Knights are defending is actually leading to the save percentage going down. And I've actually talked to Bruce Cassidy about this. They play that tight zone defense that we were mentioning earlier, where they just keep everything to the outside and they block a ton of shots, but they're also screening their own goalie more than they would like this year. And they've been doing this for years. So it's not like this is like a new defensive system, but for whatever reason, maybe it's the way offenses are changing their attack against them. For whatever reason, they've had a ton of goals go in from the point that aren't being tipped. They're just being screened. And a lot of the times it's their own defensemen that are screening them. And they're trying to remedy that, and it's gone away. And like I can remember a couple years ago, I think the year they won the cup, Aiden Hill didn't give up a goal from the point. Like the NHL Edge, they keep the shot locations, and he was like 250 for 250 from out there. Like they could not score on him from out there. And now all of a sudden this year, all those goals are going in. And it's not that the Golden Knights are playing bad defense in terms of giving up backdoor shots or one-timers from the slot. it's kind of like harmless looking goals that are going in, but it's super interesting to me. A team that has had the same structure. They play great defense. They've had great goaltending numbers for basically 9 straight years. It's the same goalies. Carter Hart's new, but Aiden Hill's been here for a while, and suddenly the stats haven't been good this year. If you just look at the numbers, you'd say the goaltending is the biggest weakness for the Golden Knights this year, and it's one of the biggest reasons that they haven't won as many games as they'd like, even though they're in first place. But I agree with you that they do have a lot of talent in that, and Aiden Hill, like I said last night, it's the first time he's looked great, and if he gets on a run, this team right now, I think they're kind of a tier below the Colorado, Dallas, Tampa, Carolina. To me, those are the true contenders right now, and then Vegas is kind of in that next tier. But if Aiden Hill gets going, they're all of a sudden they're one of the best teams in the league, and they're going to be really tough to beat.
He's a competitive son of a gun. I'll tell you that much. When he gets dialed in, like that guy competes. That's his superpower, right? His superpower. His superpower isn't being the greatest athlete in the league. His superpower is the fact that he wills that puck out of his net sometimes, right?
And
go ahead.
To your point about playoffs, he's a goalie that gets better in the playoffs. I mean, we've only seen him in 3 postseasons, so it's not like we've got a whole career to look at. But obviously, the year they won the cup, he was one of the biggest reasons they won the cup. He had like a 930. Then the next year they lost in the second round, but not because of him. He was spectacular. And even last year, losing that series to Edmonton, I mean, they didn't score a goal for 127 minutes to end the series. They lost 1-0. Hill was awesome. And to your point, maybe he's one of those guys that thrives in the playoffs. When I've talked to him about this, when things start getting violent and physical around him, sometimes that makes goalies uncomfortable. He loves it. Like Aiden Hill, when guys start bumping into him and there's violent battles right in front of him, that's when he's at his best. He can't get enough of that stuff. Yeah. And you watch him, he tries to get himself involved in that stuff as much as he possibly can. It makes him better.
Well, Jesse, I tell you, I can't thank you. Kind of gone over our time here with you, but so appreciative, so exciting to have you on the call, and just like your passion for goaltending, you got me all fired up here. You got me so fired up. I didn't even collect my baggage from the luggage carousel. Now I got to go track it down in the airport somewhere. But John, this was awesome, huh?
Hey, what I'll say is I met Jesse on Instagram, and social media is good for something, and there's a lot of good goalie people out there. But what a pleasure it was to connect and to meet and to have these conversations. I mean, it was so much fun. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. I like I said, I'll never turn down an opportunity to talk with goalie people, and it was an honor to be on the pod, and I really appreciate meeting you guys, and we'll stay in touch. It's so much fun to talk goalies.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And if you're new to Stop It Goaltending we every single day of the week, 7 videos a week, we provide you with more resources than you know what to do with. If you want to grow your goalie IQ, do that extra to get where you want to be. Try Stop It Goaltending 7-day free trial. Thanks, everyone. Take care.